Get to do an interview with one of my best friends in the world. His name is Pastor Trevor Chin. He pastors at Epiphany Fellowship Church of Baltimore. You might have seen him lead in worship with his lovely wife, Melissa, as well as his babies, Zoe and TJ, a few weeks back. Listen, I can't say enough great things about him. He's a dear friend and brother to me. But I do want to brag about him real quick. He's a graduate of Cairn University. He's got 2 degrees, one in Bible, and he got the other in social work. He's got a master's from Lancaster Bible College. He's an MD, right? You can check him out on the Rick Ross album. Which Rick Ross album was that, bro? Tell the world real quick. Hey, listen, just Google fluorescent ink. Just do that. But listen, this is my brother and my friend. Can y'all give it up for my brother, Pastor Trevor Chin? What's up, man?
Man, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you not reading my Bible. I mean, you having that thing down in your heart.
Come on, man.
So I appreciate it. I'm appreciative of y'all. So great to be home, I'll say.
That's great, man. Well, thank you for having. Hey, yo, I just want y'all to just recognize Pastor Trevor's fish in the background. I want y'all to know that. Just look at the fish in the background. Look how they swimming so peacefully and all that type of stuff. He put a lot of work behind the scenes. Well, listen, Pastor Trev, you did a worksheet called The New Normal that we're going to talk about a little bit to help people get their life back together after it had been snuffed out by COVID-19. And this really reminded me, church, of what happened in Daniel 1. Everybody loves Daniel in the lion's den. Everybody loves those great stories about him. But what we have to realize is that he had to discern a new normal. He was just chilling there. There was a siege in his land. That would have been the equivalent of North African people being taken over to America during the Middle Passage. It would have been a total disruption of their land. So a disruption of their life. So what we see with Daniel is he lost his job. He lost his language. He lost his family. He lost his culture. He lost his friends. He lost a number of things. But what he had to do was find out how to discern a new normal. And church, as you know, this season, we're wrapping up a new sermon series called The New Normal. And we want to help you figure out life. And I wanted to bring Pastor Trevor on because I think he has created a worksheet and he has thought through some ways in which to help us. So, Pastor Trevor, I'm going to shoot away. Of course, I got to pull my notes up real quick. So,
like what?
Of course, I got to pull my notes up. So, Pastor Trevor, tell us a little bit about the New Normal worksheet. And I will say parenthetically, everyone, you can go right to the description in the chat box. It's all right there. You can go right to his website and get it. It will help you. But tell us a little bit about why you created it and then give us an idea of how it's helping people that are trying to figure out new rhythms in life.
Man, we'll do. Well, again, I just want to say thank you once again for having me in the room.
Come on.
In a sense, it's great to be with you. And I love Epiphany Campbell. I miss y'all. So I'm just super grateful for you. But I guess for me, and I've been trying to share a lot of stuff recently, but it wasn't for content's sake. It was, I realized that I needed help for my own soul, my own family. Mm-hmm. And what I realized when the things kicked off early March, I never watched more news than I have in that month and a half span.
That's a fact.
I was waiting on to hear what the president was going to say.
Yeah.
I was waiting on to hear what the governor was going to say.
That's
I was waiting on to hear about the mayor. Yeah. And I was allowing the climate of the context of what was going on. I was allowing all of the news media and all these different outlets to dictate my emotion.
Yeah.
So I had good days, I had bad days, I was up, I was down. And I don't even like the term new normal anymore because I think that we're past the newness piece. Right. Now we're settling into like normalcy and now death is settling. But I needed to figure out a way how to help myself get centered and to kind of be ahead of the current so I can lead my own self, lead my family, lead my kids, and lead the church. Like I needed to be in a better space. So there was a few areas that I had to process through. And as you'll see on the worksheet, I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna give myself a 30-day challenge to knock these 5 boxes out to kind of help center myself. So the first one was creating spaces. And again, just tell me to land the plane. You could.
I got you. I'm listening. No, you're good. You're good. You're good. I got you.
Cool.
I got you.
Cool. But the first space that I realized was creating spaces, and I remember, like, that's what we talk about, prayer closets and things like that, because there's something that your brain does in certain spaces that kind of puts you in the mindset. I remember even when me and you, when we were doing Intensity, you remember?
Oh, Insanity. Yes. Insanity. I remember that.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was difficult for me to engage with a TV workout thing in my living room, because it was the same place that I rested. It was the same place that I found comfort in.
Yeah.
So it was hard for me to turn that into a space of workout, of exercise, of hustle and bustle, because it's not what I did there.
Yeah.
So I realized I need to be able to create spaces in my home, or even spaces within my spaces.
That's good.
That I do certain things, and like the corner I'm in, this is my work corner.
That's good.
Everything is here that I do for work, but this is the only place that I do work at. I'm not doing work in the living room. I'm not doing work on the couch. I'm creating space. So a couple of the questions are: where will I do my work? Where will I relax? And where will I spend time in devotion?
Right.
And those are like really three kind of big categories of life.
Yeah.
For me.
That's so clutch right there, what you're saying, Pastor Trev. Even because when we look at the life of Jesus, he had a set time and a set place of where he would go pray. And you didn't see him doing a bunch of praying during the day, but he would get up in the morning. Often at night, he would find a secluded location and he would go there to lift up the name of Jesus, bring his request. So I think that's really key. I mean, so you're saying, so when you're creating spaces, you're saying that certain spaces are more advantageous for your devotional life than other spaces, has been your experience?
Yes. So, and again, I think it's some psychology in it, but like, there's a certain space in my basement that I go to when I'm praying, when I'm reading the word, when I'm writing sermons, whatever the case may be. Like, there's a certain space that I go, because when I get there, it kind of allows my head to be in the space of like, I know that when like my body turns on, like, all right, it's devotion time. Like, and there's something about that intimacy and that presence of God that kind of works in that. Yeah, man. That's, what I mean? It's a certain space that I go to. That's where I see God at. So yeah.
That's good, man. That's good. Now, so in line with what Daniel was saying, Daniel had to develop his closeness with God. Just because there's been some drastic disruptions in our lives at this time, it doesn't mean that there should be a drastic disruption in the amount of time or the place that we spend with God. So what Pastor Trevor is saying, which I think is so key, is that in your homes, you have to create little spaces where you do specific activities. So if you're working in the living room and you're trying to figure out a new normal, it might not be best for you to work in the living room, pray in the living room, do your entertainment in the living room. You've got to figure out different spaces in your home to do different things. That's really incredible, Pastor Trev. That's really rich. So tell us, so the first one is create space. So you divided up the space. Now tell us a little bit about the importance of quiet time and then how we can rearrange our lives in this kind of season.
So quiet time is the next box. With more and more screens now happening, with now work moving to screens, school moving to screens, connecting with friends moving to screens, with the loudness of life. Because now things are extremely loud. Quiet time is extremely essential, because you have to find a space where you can settle your soul. Yeah. And it's hard. It's difficult. But what I put was there's 15-minute blocks 4 times throughout the day.
Yeah, that's good.
Where I have noise canceling headphones and the little black eye patches. Yeah. To where I'm listening to water running or wind blowing, and it's just black. Yeah, that's good. You have to be able to have time to think. You have to be able to have our brains aren't used to all of this lights, camera, action. No pun intended. Yeah. So it's all of this noise, and we have to be able to kind of quiet our souls and learn the practice of quieting our souls.
Yo, that is so key. That just reminds me of Psalm 1. Where David is talking about how he meditates on the word day and night. And he's not talking about transcendental meditation where you elevate to some different level of consciousness. He's talking about some time where you can actually think about the word, where after you do your devotions and you ingest it, you can actually think about what God is trying to say. I think that is so key. So tell us a little bit. So you talk about how you don't want to be interrupted, or the importance of not being interrupted. I'm sure it's a little difficult, you got babies and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
So do you plan it out ahead of time? Kind of how does that work in this new normal?
Yeah. So the questions would be, what time do you do it? In the morning, evening? Like what slots? And those slots are like, that's gospel. Like those slots do not get interrupted. Yeah. No one gets in those slots. No one breaks time. And hey, you like, even this slot, I'm about to walk into a slot in a second, and I'm out of here. But where will I go, and how will I ensure that my quiet time will not be interrupted? Yeah. And if you don't put these brackets on, then you will be interrupted. If you don't have a place to go that you're very intentional about, again, I had a seminary professor that said, if it's important to you, you'll put it on a calendar,
that's good.
Schedule it, and you'll set alarms for it.
That's good. That's good.
So for me, I have 2 young kids. Yep. And my wife is working at home now also. So I got to find spaces like outside or at a park or wherever. I mean, I'll drive 15 minutes up to spend 15 minutes or 30 minutes of quiet time. But however that looks like for you, you need to be creative, whether it be waking up earlier or going to bed late. Like, you need those times. I think the reason why this COVID pandemic has been a difficult time is that we're now left to our thoughts. Wow. I saw that that alcohol sales have went up like 400%. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much. Because now when we're left with ourselves with unprocessed thoughts, with unprocessed emotions, with unprocessed frustration, life can get loud. Life can get hectic. And we try to numb it and numb our pain and all these other different kind of things. What I'm saying that this quiet time allows us to do is helps us lean in to that intimacy, to lean into that quiet time, to lean into intentionally processing these emotions. Yeah. So they don't process us.
That is so solid right there. So listen, if you're going to have any means of success in developing and maintaining your mental health, you've got to establish some new rhythms and paths. I think this is excellent. So you start with creating space, quiet time. I'm going to come back to digital life because I want you to talk about that last. I think that's so important. But tell us a little bit about your personal goals. Like what I noticed about Daniel in Daniel 1 and all throughout the book is it said that he had exceptional qualities. So he was developing his character. His reputation is what people say about him. His character is who he actually is. So you set personal goals here to not only just work on who you are, not only work on your character, but you also want to work on some competencies, because I'm assuming you want to leave this season better than when you entered into it.
Absolutely. I love how Daniel 6:3 says it. It says, Daniel distinguished himself above the administrators and satraps because he had an extraordinary spirit. That's good, man. And it doesn't explicitly say kind of what kind of set him apart from there. Yeah. But what we do know is that because he was extraordinary in whatever he did, in his excellence and whatever, King Darius gave him access to rule. I mean, even to the point, a little bit further down in that verse, folk was hating on him and they was trying to find a conspiracy to come against him and take him down. But it said, like, yo, we can't find an accusation against him. But what I see in this season is, and Pastor and I talk about this all the time, like, there are no rules right now. There are no rules that we have to be bound by. And if there was ever a season to try something new, if there was ever a season to try something different, if there's ever a season to lean into what your purpose is and to find out what that is, it'll be now. And so when I say a personal goal, I'm not saying, you know what, I always thought about being a rapper. Like, I'm gonna start writing. No, I'm not saying you can't do that, but I'm saying what do you already do well?
Wow.
What have you been kind of working on in this season? What have you been saying that you wanted to do but have been putting off?
Wow.
What can you do to strengthen those three things? There's a book called Brandon Bouchard. I forget the name of the book. It's slipping the top of my head right this second. But one of the things that he talks about is finding something that you're good at and picking 3 goals to strengthen that thing.
That's good, man. That's good.
You know what I mean? If you're doing media, what 3 things can you do to help you do that better?
That's good.
If you are whatever
Right.
it is,
Yeah.
finding 3 things to help you with that. So the questions that I asked was, what can I do? What can I physically do?
Yep.
What do I do well, and what do I love? And what project can I do that will strengthen what I do and love already? And I'll argue that oftentimes this word purpose kind of becomes taboo.
Yeah.
To untaboo it, what do you love? What do you find pleasure in?
Yeah.
Oftentimes that and your purpose will go hand in hand.
That's so solid,
leaning
man.
into that in this season.
That's so solid. I think one of the reasons that I love that is just because it's so thoroughly biblical. I mean, we all have gifts. We all have skills that God has deposited in us. But I think a lot of those skills just go underdeveloped because we don't take the time to identify what they are. That's why I like what Paul told Timothy. He told him in 1 Timothy 4:16, like, yo, I want you to take a good look at your life and your doctrine. Like, of course, we want to know that what we believe about God is accurate, but we also have to know what we believe about ourselves is accurate as well. So what I believe that passage is a call to self-awareness, because Pastor Trev, you already know there are people that have gifts, have communication gifts, have ideating gifts, but they just go underdeveloped. So my idea, and I always tell people this, is make sure you take a Strengths Finder profile. Make sure you take an Enneagram. Make sure you go through a gift assessment to learn how God has wired you. And then you can maximize the gifts that he's put on the inside of you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I love that. I think that is so good. So thank you so much. So listen, the big ones here is family goals. My wife and your wife were both working full time outside of the house. So what's happened in the last few weeks is our wives and our kids, we've been cohabitating in a way and spending more time than we ever have before. Well, the only thing that's complicated about that is both of us are in full-time ministry, trying to produce Christ-centered content that's going to lead people to Jesus and help people that are already in Christ to grow all the more. And so, but our wives are working too. You know, your wife is an entrepreneur. She has a thriving business where she does tutorials and vocal lessons and things like that. Tell us how we can come up with family goals that lead to health and wholeness, but that help us to avoid the tension that we invariably face in our homes.
Yeah, that's good. That's a great question. And I'll say it like this. For you and I, if we have thriving churches, but our wives hate being in the same room as us, and our kids hate the church, then we have not done our job.
Come on, man.
We failed.
Come on.
So there has to be, and same thing for her. I'll speak for her. If she has a thriving business, but we all hate her. She's missed.
Yeah.
But we have to be intentional. Just like I said with the quiet time, like, there are mandatory things that need to be done.
That's right.
Before this whole thing happened, we had 2 days a week that I don't care what is going on.
Yeah.
Those 2 days, we are spending time together. One day we could watch a movie together or something, and the other day we're going to talk. But those were long.
Yeah.
Those were long. They were in our regular rhythms of life. But in this season, now that we're all online, and both of us are online, and we're spent every day, and then the mornings are given for the kids for homeschooling.
Yeah.
We try to find times and things throughout the day that we are intentionally engaging, because it is possible for, even though we're around each other all day long now, a lot more than we were before, we can still just be missing each other, like
that's good. That's good.
Say, boats in the dark.
That's solid. I mean? Yeah, that's solid.
But instead, because this season can be a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
I know that sounds crazy, it could sound insensitive, and I don't want to sound that way, but we can really lean into quality time with our families in this season, because we might not get something like this back ever again. So like one thing that I just started last week was every single day I'm going to find a pocket of time to take the kids to out for a walk.
Solid.
That we can engage in conversation. And the thing that I challenge myself with is genuinely asking my wife the question, and my daughter for this matter, how are you doing? How are you processing? How are you feeling? Man, like my daughter she'll be 5 next month. And she's young. I asked her, how does she feel about not being able to go to school and having to be home all day?
Wow.
And the answer that I got really blew me away. And it was probably in her life, it was the best conversation I've ever had with her. Now again, she couldn't talk for too long, but
right.
Conversation, that was one of the best.
Now, if I hear you correctly, man, you're really harping on the importance of communication. So a lot of times we think, particularly as men, that we have communicated because we've talked, but there is no comprehension of what we're saying because either we're tone deaf or we're just explaining it in a way that's unclear. So the thing I like about this sheet and what you're saying is you're asking more questions instead of making so many statements, right? Yeah. And it sounds like what you're saying by listening to Zoe and her concern is that we need to be engaged in active listening and participatory listening as opposed to overt making statements. And I know that you and I are so given to do that all the time.
Yeah, I think that what we oftentimes can miss is, especially during this time like right now, I'm frustrated, I'm busy, there's so much going on.
Yeah.
This thing is impacting me personally so much.
Yeah.
And I can look and forget that they're going through this as well.
That's good, man.
They're dealing with emotions. They're dealing with frustration.
That's good, man.
And I need to be, as a leader of this house, I need to be in such an emotional, available place for all of them, so that we all can navigate this. I mean, this whole sheet is thrown out the window if it's not for this one box that talks about family goal, because I can be as well off, have my own quiet time, have my own creative spaces, have all these different things. But if my wife and my kids are not in a healthy place,
that's great, man.
I'm still unbalanced.
That's great, man.
I'm still unbalanced. So it's I think it's extremely important.
Yeah, and if I'm listening to you, it really sounds like your care for your family is tied to your character. If you're selfish, if you're just driven to accomplish your goals, but you're not actively caring for your family, then none of the rest of this sheet matters. You know, so like even family goals, like even when I think about my single folks, right? Because I'm sure there's a lot of folks that are single, and whatever stage they're in, they have filled this out and they think about family goals. This could be relational goals, right? This could be making sure that you are not doing life alone, right? If you're a part of a church, then making sure that you're a part of a community group. Being like the crux of being a part of a family is being vulnerable and doing life with other people. So just speak to that for a second. How can our singles who are trying to figure out their new normal in this particular season, how can they develop robust family goals and personal goals?
Yeah, so even to your point of what you just said in terms of relationships and community, like I said, your friends are dealing with loss and frustration and all this other kind of stuff now.
Good,
like, man. This is absolutely a time for you to be able to encourage, to challenge. If there was ever time to start make phone calls, if there was ever time to send text messages, like that time is now. But not only just from a relational standpoint, because I think that's important from a communal standpoint, but even singles to process. Now that we have our own time, now that we're home and stuck, what do you envision? What are you praying for? What would you like to see your family look like? What's a goal that you would want to have?
That's solid.
Because again, to put that thing on paper so you can pray about it and ask God and to continue to lead you that direction.
Yeah.
Because we can't leave that up to chance and whatever happens.
Right.
No.
Right.
Set a family goal now. You know what I mean? And again, it's in God's hand, but set a goal of what, after you look through the scriptures, what would a God glorifying marriage be?
That's
what
right.
would it look like to raise kids in the admonition of Jesus, like all that kind of stuff.
That's so solid, man. Yeah, I just love that. So I'm hearing you. So we've got to develop our closeness with God. In our quiet time, we've got to develop our calling or our gifting. That helps us with some of our personal goals. You've got to create space. You've got to keep your family at the forefront, because that's your first ministry, right? Like that's your first thing. And tell me a little bit about this last category, because I think it's so very important, because we fought with technology for an hour while we were setting this up initially, right? I know this is not exactly how you wanted it to look, you know what I'm saying, with your camera and stuff.
How I'm presented is a big deal.
And I know, like, we spend a lot of time in our digital life. So what are some boundaries we can create to help us maintain our emotional health when we're being bombarded with screens on a continual basis?
Yeah, so I read an article that that was talking through the idea of why Zoom calls are so exhausting. And it was from a psychologist that was saying, imagine going to the bar, with your friends, meeting your parents there, having your teachers buy you a drink, while your grandmother and great aunt sits far away and tries to talk to you, but their mute button is on, but you can't hear them. Like it's like
it's an overload.
It's all of your worlds, and again, this even goes back to the creating space box. But it's all of your worlds in every single, because before we go out to eat with family, and we'll go hang out with friends. We'll spend time with our girlfriend or boyfriend or our wives. We'll spend time with our kids. All these different things were in different categories. Now to squish all of those things together and put them on Zoom, and now you're on Zoom sun up to sundown, dealing with all of your stuff, is mentally and emotionally exhausting. Yeah, for sure. So I realized, I said, you know what? I'm going to use different platforms for different things. The question that I asked, what platform will I do my work and my school on? Where will I connect with my friends, and where will I connect with my family? Solid. Now we are privileged to have technology that allows us to be able to differentiate these things. But like, I'm not gonna have a fun conversation on Zoom. Like that's not what I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna connect with friends on Zoom. I'm gonna connect with them on either FaceTime or for friends it's FaceTime. For family it's Facebook. The little messenger app through there. But again, it kind of allows my brain to continue to divvy up these emotional spaces and platforms, because again, we're inundated with screens. Everything is screens now. But that's, once again, I think that all 5 of these boxes work hand in hand. Because you still need that quiet time. You still need that time where you're intentionally pulling away from screens. But that's really kind of categorizing your digital spaces and kind of how you live this digital life. That's so great, man. This interview I think has been so very important, because it's really revolves around creating a healthy rhythm and developing healthy boundaries, right? Like a boundary is not something you simply create for people. It's created in your digital space. Where are you going to worship? What are you going to do? So I think that is so very important. So tell the people, where can they find you? I know you produce a lot of great content online for people to access. Tell us a little bit about where we can find you. And if someone needs to get in touch with you, what would be the best way? So the first thing I want to say, you can go check out my website, trevorchin.com. My YouTube page at Trevor Chin, and all my social media stuff is at Chin Music. But trevorchin.com is where I put most of my kind of these guys, the new Normal Worksheet, different ways, different trainings, and all that kind of good stuff. But hey, got a question? Email me, PastorTrevor@epiphanyBmore.com. I'm here. I'm here.
Listen, Pastor Trevor, thank you so much for joining us for this, what I believe to be a very helpful helpful conversation about creating boundaries, developing a new normal, and for finishing up our sermon series, man. I greatly appreciate you, man.
Man, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you for having me on here, Don.
Absolutely.